Hello everybody in both Bhutan and India. Right now I'm at Thimphu. This is Professor A.G. Iyer, the President of Renewable Energy Promotion Association and the MARKENOMY Foundation, as well as the Editor-in-Chief of MARKENOMY and ENERTIA. With me is a very, very important guest. I would put her as one of my favorites in the world list. And this is PHUB ZAM. Madam, welcome to this show, a special show being conducted today. She is the president of the Yarkay Group. Yarkay Group is into hospitality, into construction, into hydropower build-up, into renewable energy also now they're looking at, and in various areas of, I would say, infrastructure. So that is it. And we have AUM PHUB ZAM. She's an amazing woman, entrepreneur and business person who's grown and shown the world that what they can do and how much change they can bring in the gender equity factor, So welcome, Madam PHUB ZAM. You give me a very little brief on your early journey in life. How did you take to being an entrepreneur or a businesswoman?
Thank you, Professor, and welcome to Thimphu. I hope you are enjoying the lovely morning sun that we have and the clean, crisp air.
Yeah.
It's been quite a long journey. I often tell people it seems like I'm, ancient, but because I've been here and I've seen a lot. So, I did my schooling in India, and it was in a convent.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So that's common about us. I also went to a convent in a small town called Faridabad.
Okay.
Until the 8th standard. It was the St. John's. So there's that commonality here.
Okay. Mine was St. Joseph's Convent.
Oh my God. So St. John's and St. Joseph's.
Yes.
Wonderful.
At the moment, if I, were to introduce myself, and you've already introduced me as the president of the Yarkay Group, but when I first started, it was back in the mid-70s, and I got married early, so I had to come out of school early, and that's where my business journey began.
Wonderful.
Yes. So it was at a time when, Bhutan was just emerging, and when industrialization was taking place, when construction was developing, when the share market was just emerging. And all this, I have just recently actually finished an autobiography.
I know. You're telling me about it just a couple of days back, and we are eagerly awaiting your wonderful autobiography. But I have a small interjection here for my audience. 70s was the time when India sent a woman prime minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And it's very exciting to know that exactly that period, we saw the rise of a woman entrepreneur in Bhutan. So I want to just give this little twist of history. So the periods were very fantastic. I think India and Bhutan started developing major relationship in the 70s.
Yes, I think, the development that started was in the late 60s. Our road also from India to Thimphu.
I know.
It started in the 60s.
I know. I've seen that video when the Nehru Wangchuk Center gave me that wonderful video of 1 hour of Pandit Nehru coming on yak back and, and also Indira Gandhi on horseback. And that's the way they entered via the Tibet region into Bhutan. It was not the current route, And that was very exciting to see the first Prime Minister meeting your Honorable His Majesty the Third,
Yes.
So that I know, I realize. What I was trying to interject is that your time of 1970, which you mentioned, that's the time when Indira Gandhi was in India, and we saw 71, we saw the formation of Bangladesh, and it was a very tough time also.
Yes.
So how do you see the rise of business at the time in Bhutan for you?
At that time, there were not many businesses happening.
Correct.
And in fact, there were not many women also in business.
I know.
So, we had what was known as the Bhutan Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
It had just started also. I was not a member then, but I did try to help them a lot during that period.
Wonderful. In fact, that was the Apex Chamber, and the chamber was functioning, and you have been the president of the chamber also.
Yes.
Tell a little bit about, because that was the period of very good work when I know that when you were the BCCI president as well.
Yes. I'm the immediate past president of the Bhutan Chamber.
Yeah, yeah.
And they always say, okay, the first woman president of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Bhutan
yeah.
Chamber.
Yes, yes.
So it was in 2016.
Right.
And during my tenure, we had the COVID happening.
I know. It was a tough time.
Yes, it was a tough time. But nevertheless, we did try to do a lot within that time. We used to have, various meetings. It was mostly Zoom and how to go about, how business should still be conducted, even in that difficult period.
Right. So you told me one wonderful story, which I want my viewers to know, about that land, when somebody took some money from you. So that was a wonderful story you were saying. So I thought if you could narrate that story.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are so many stories that I have, and my journey into the real estate also. I must give a little bit, some people may find it amusing, but when I was young, and I have 3 children.
Yeah.
Dichen is the daughter, she's the eldest, then Ugen and Sonam Penjo. So when they were young, and they were also going to the school, my daughter went to the school that I went to, and my 2 sons went to St. Paul's. That's
Right.
also, yes, in India. So when they were young, I used to, in my mind, wonder, okay, if when my children grow up, and okay, what if they could not do any business, maybe I should make them into shopkeepers. And I used to always want to have a property in town, a land in town.
Right.
So that I build it into a, shop. I build it into shops, I mean. So it was like sending my prayers to the universe, I think. But this particular one is, for me, I believe a lot in trying to help people. If you give them happiness by even a little help that you can, that is what I feel great about.
Wonderful.
So I had started a shop in Phunsuling. It was in the 84s. So when I set up the shop, there was a gentleman. He was working in the Food Corporation of Bhutan, and I think he fell short of money. He was undergoing hard times. So he asked me to loan him 15,000 Neutrum.
Right.
It's the same as the Indian rupees.
Right.
And then I gave him. I didn't even think I'll get it back, but he seemed to be quite an ethical person. He came after a few months and he said, oh, I'm not able to return your money, but can you give me 10,000 more? And I have some land in Gelifu. You can take that.
Right.
So then that's how, I am in possession of some land in Gelifu.
So it's very interesting. We are getting the Gelifu Mindfulness City.
Yes.
And you have the possession of the land since long, right?
Yes, it's been many, many years.
Yeah. So that's very, very exciting because we're getting this interesting project of the Gelifu Mindfulness City.
Yes, that is a vision which our king, His Majesty, the 5th King, he has, I think, brought about this vision which we, the Bhutanese, are also eager to support. And we feel that this will be a city which is like no other.
Right.
Because you have so many smart cities in the world, but this city is going to be different. It's going to be a mindfulness city where, like Bhutanese, we embrace Buddhism. So spirituality and wellness is what, we feel that we can define with most as Bhutanese.
Yeah. In fact, I will add to that. In fact, the mindfulness is a very wonderful term. And I believe that what is going to happen, it is going to take time. But in the long run, whole world will have to look at developing not smart cities. Because when you say smart cities,
yes.
I believe world is symmetrical, equilibrium. So do we have smug cities? So if they're smart, there's a smugness. Yes. So that's not a right word in my opinion.
Yes.
So there can be livable cities.
Yes.
But what is smart city? I've never understood, this concept. So Bhutan has been making things livable for its people. It's green, it's carbon negative. And in addition to that, we discussed about a couple of days back that we also have the entire grid in Bhutan having only renewable energy. So it's very unique because there's no country in the world they can probably go towards carbon neutral and carbon negativity also. But I don't know how many of them will continue to only pump renewable energy into the grid. So these are very unique. And so livability comes from clean environment. and clean thoughts.
Yes.
So I believe your mindfulness is a wonderful concept, and if it can become global, why
Yes.
not? Why only Bhutan? People should follow this concept, and I think it's a good starting point. So I want you to tell me, of course, the kings have always, the honorable majesties have always helped Bhutan and guided them. But now we have a democracy, right? We have a governance, we have got other systems. We are coming to a world order where we cannot say Bhutan is as good as any other country, although it's small. So how do you think about it? Because it's all started the 2008 thing, right? After
Yes.
the centenary coronation, I attended it, and we came across together in 2008.
Yes.
What is your feeling? How your progress
I
now?
do remember the democracy took place in 2008.
Right,
And in fact, I think that was the time that I met you first.
right.
There was, I think, a summit. What was it that you had?
It was a Hydrovision conclave.
Yes, a
of
hydrovision
the
conclave
ENERTIA Foundation.
10,000 megawatts.
Yes,
no,
yes,
it
yes.
was. And it was there that you had helped to bring that about.
Right.
And so actually, Bhutan, we are blessed that we have the mountains and the rivers, and that from there we are able to generate this clean power, hydropower.
Absolutely.
Yes. So that was the beginning of me knowing about, the potential that Bhutan has.
Absolutely.
Yes. At that time, we were thinking that the private sector could also be involved.
Yeah, that was the aim,
Yes.
When the government of India and Bhutan were doing the bilateral, I think we all wanted kind of a joint alliance between the Indian entrepreneurs in the construction and I would say in the EPC. That was the vision.
Yes.
And I think it's coming a full circle now.
Yes, now it's coming a full circle. I was saying I do not know why we have lost the 15 years.
Right.
I tell people, I say the snow has melted, the river has flown by, but we couldn't tap that much. But nevertheless, they say better late than never.
Yeah.
So
In
we are
fact,
now
the good
there.
news for my audience is we have roughly 2.9 gigawatt or 3 gigawatt already on the grid, which can actually be exported to India. Of course, we have seasonal variations. In winter, there's a low flow in the energy, but we've already come someplace. The Pune Sanchu 2 is also coming onto the grid.
Yes.
So we are seeing it's not that it's not, but yes, as you rightly said, if the 10 gigawatt target by 2020, even if it was fulfilled by 2022, we would have done better.
Yes.
I think that's what your point is all about.
Yes.
But now the good news is we hear that we'll go 20-25 gigawatt,
Yes.
and that includes, now I want to come to that, when we gave the recognition to you in 2020, you're one of the stalwarts, including A.K. Mishra from India. So that time we talked about 5 gigawatt potential. And look at it, PHUB ZAM. It's coming to that, right? The Bhutan's 5 gigawatt solar policy.
Yes.
South-facing mountains with good solar radiation and insolation. How do you feel about it? Solar coming in along with hydro.
Yes. I think the world is now tapping into what, God has created. When I talk about God, I always say we have to be grateful to the Almighty, because these are things which have been there for so many years.
Yeah.
People have not tapped into.
Yes.
And now, we are tapping into wind, we are tapping into solar. So it is good because it is there, but we are just tapping into it.
Right.
And I'm grateful to Professor that you're able to showcase the potential of the solar, the power. Even they talk about hydrogen. So I'm not a technical person, but just listening to it makes it very exciting.
Yeah, like what she said rightly. Now take a lead and tell you that Bhutan gets the glacier melt. The water comes from glacier melt, unlike using seawater. So therefore, from this cleaner water, and plenty of it is flowing, clean hydrogen can be made, green hydrogen can be made. So Bhutan is a better site, in my opinion, than using the seawater, which India is thinking about. So it could be that we could have a collaboration for hydrogen in a big way with Bhutan, extending it from the hydro bilateral and other things. So we need to think innovatively, both the countries. I think I want to now come to that. There is no relation in the world like the Indo-Bhutan, whether it is government to government or people to people, because it's my experience, the people to people here. So how do you reflect on this? Why it's so unique compared to the rest of the relationships? There are other relationships also worldwide, like Germany and nearby countries and things like that. But no relation I'm seeing is as strong and solid as the Indo-Bhutan.
Yes. Here, last when Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji visited last year, and he said it is B to B,
Yeah.
Bharat to Bhutan, that
Good one.
relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And, we are always very grateful to the Indian government.
Yeah.
Like, take me as an example, like, I went to study as a scholarship which was granted by the Indian government.
Right.
So starting from then until now,
Which was this year, ma'am?
that was in the early 60s.
Oh my God, that's the Nehru era.
Yes,
Literally.
yes. So at that time, you must realize that people in Bhutan, like our parents, those who were a bit well off, they do not send their children because they do not know where they are sending their children.
Right.
So the lesser off, or those who were asked to send their children had to send.
Okay.
So there is a term, in the Indian term, I say always, an ulta becomes a sulta.
Okay.
So those
Wonderful.
days an ulta is like, oh, why did you send your children to school? And it was not something which they would have liked. But then now when you look back, you find that those children who have studied, and especially, in the schools that we went to India, the foundation that we have got there, I think has put us in good stead, even till now.
Wonderful.
Yes. And back to, we were talking about the mindfulness city. So I was saying, like, there are a lot of smart cities in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
But ours would not be following that line. It is more
Absolutely.
of that, yeah.
So that's why I said livable
Yes.
instead of smart. We give
Yes.
an award in India for
Yes.
livable cities
Okay.
and not smart cities,
Yes.
which we founded in the MARKENOMY Foundation.
Yes.
So it completely in sync with this. But I like the word mindfulness
Yes.
because mindfulness means you're concerned, you're compassionate.
Yes.
You think of the people, you think of the resources, you think of the flora, fauna. So I think it's a wonderful word. And
Yes.
I would not mind that this should be borrowed by everybody, and maybe India can do, by borrowing from Bhutan, the mindfulness concept,
Yes.
and then working together. For once, I think in Hindi there is a saying, "Kabhi gaadi nav par, kabhi nav gaadi par."
Oh, okay.
So this can be something like that.
So you have to explain that in English.
Yeah,
because-
it says sometimes the truck is in the boat and the
Okay.
boat is in the truck at other times.
Okay.
So this is possible between the Indo-Bhutan.
All right.
So it's an interesting area. So this could be the time when probably India can pick up from what the Honorable Fifth is looking at,
Yes.
moving towards mindfulness city. So it is a good concept. Like I have, when I started coming 2008, I think roughly in 2010 or so, I met an Englishman, I don't remember his name here. So we were talking about GNH, I'm a fan of this concept. So he told me, Professor, you can do wonderful by taking this idea. So I added a word called gross national harmony and happiness, because India's big challenge is the diversity.
Yes.
So many religions. I think all the religions of the world are in India, and so much of diversity. Like Bhutan also has, in its own way, diversity of so many tribes. It's like 100 tribes, and the Honorable King, the Wangchuk dynasty, is taking care of. And it will go to the great man Zabdrung Gawang Namgyal. It will go
Yes.
to him, the Zabdrung, So, and then on the other side, the spiritual is Rinpoche,
Yes.
our Guru Padma Sambhava.
Yes.
So I think, this entire integrating the spiritual concept, mindfulness, and thinking of people is what has excited me personally in the GMC. So I hope that I'm understanding it rightly, but I will learn more from
Yes.
you guys as we
I
go along.
think, Professor, your next visit, you should make a visit to we call it GMC, Thimphu Mindfulness City. So
Right,
you should keep some time so that you can visit that place.
For sure, for sure.
Yes.
I have now one more question. As a woman entrepreneur, because in India it's very challenging, amongst them, it's a completely, I would say, matriarchal society. Few women entrepreneurs have come. They are there. Definitely they're showing the way. We have an award also we give. But, in Bhutan, how do you feel the growth of women entrepreneurs compared to men entrepreneurs? This question is, I know it's loaded, but I want to know from you because it's a matriarchal society,
Yes.
yours compared to us. So how did you find it? Was it easier or it was still difficult?
Most times I feel that it's dependent on the individual.
Okay.
Also, it needs like support from the family. Like, the spouse has to be also supportive.
Right.
Because most times I think women, they tend not to, emerge out because they find they don't get the support.
Okay.
So that way, I have been lucky that Mr. Penjo has been supportive during the time that I emerged into the business. And also in Bhutan, if the individual wants to, the sky is the limit. They can.
Okay.
Yes. They have to think that, yes, we can. Yes.
I
the
would
woman
I would
can.
put a little twist to that. The
Yes.
sky is not the limit.
Oh, yes. I
It's
forgot.
beyond the sky.
Yes. The sky is not the limit. Yes.
Right. So it's wonderful. And how did you think of writing a book? Because I think I've been doing madly so many books, but then suddenly you shocked me saying I'm doing my autobiography. You never told me before, but I think I came to know more about in this trip, or before this probably when I talked to you.
Yes. See, this I have so many stories to tell, and my journey. Every step of the way I go, I find that there is some story to it. Like, if I do business, it is not just straight away that you do it, but some things lead to that.
Right.
Like even a purchase of like some real estate has a story. And then I thought that, I was there when the emerging of the industrialization, like I mentioned before, the construction, trading, it all happened. And the way that I've seen how Bhutan has progressed. Like, see, we are here in Thimphu. The, buildings that you see, the landscape that you see is so different. And I saw all that emerging.
Right.
From a child, from a 5-year-old, when we were in Thimphu, and my parents had just come from the village. So because of that, I thought that, I think I should let the youth know, how we have started.
Yes.
How business started then. And even for the women, I thought like, if you feel you want to get into business, here is a woman who hasn't even completed her education, but yet, has the courage to go through all that, and yet, you can emerge, successfully. And I think I felt that there's so many stories I have to share. That's why.
But I would add one thing there.
Yeah.
It's it's not about the education. We know so many. There's a difference between literacy and education.
Yes.
90% people don't understand that. So I was lucky, and of course we came from a poor family in the lower middle class of India.
Yes.
But then I got the best opportunity to study.
Okay.
Like from the convent, I went to APJ and then went to engineering and all that. But these are all, you get an opportunity. Our government kept the education very low cost at the time. It's an era. Every era has been great. We are the children of the era from where we saw the 90s, 70s, and 80s.
Yes.
And then we were very young in the 80s. And we saw a lot of changes at the time. We saw Manmohan Singh. I would say I'm releasing a biography of Dr. Manmohan Singh on the 3rd of February.
Okay.
So I see, we have lived that era, and we have gained from those eras. So each era, I think, leadership comes and gains, and India has been, very lucky from that sense that every era we have gained. What I want to say is, it's not important that we may not get a chance sometimes to go to school, but in your case, very, very unique, because you are an institution unto yourself, in my opinion. So it's very understudy or understatement that you're making that I couldn't get the chance to go. So education is permanent, Literacy could be something which people gain. So you are educated, you have built dams. I would want you to say a thing about that Basuchu project that you did,
Yes.
It was a hydro project.
Yes.
And you are done, you're telling me that the next Austrian company could not do what you could achieve at the time. So this is all brilliant things, coming from your side,
Yes. Like I was mentioning, that construction started, when I started my business. And initially, there was no, organized construction sector when I came into. So then the government said, okay, we need to now grade it. So it was graded as, ABC.
Right.
And petty contractors. And then At that time, there was no hydropower.
Right.
It was just Chuka starting.
Right.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so Chuka was starting. So the gradation of the contractor started, and then we got into construction. We did, in fact, we are the first ones to have, the private company to have gone into hydropower.
Exactly.
So the first
So
one.
that way Yarkay is a pioneer in
Yes,
hydropower.
yes. So we first started with they call it a micro mini hydropower.
Yeah.
It was there were 10 sites by the Japanese funded, and they gave us one job, and 9 of the sites they did themselves.
Okay.
But because we did a fantastic job, the inauguration and the opening of it was held at our site from the 10 sites.
Okay.
Then after that, because of that good work, then we again were given 3 sites by the Japanese, again the same group, called Dynipin Construction,
Okay.
and funded by JICA. So it was in Tsirang, Dagana, and Tintibi.
Okay.
So those 3 sites. And after that, then we got this Austrian work, Ranjung.
Okay.
So that is also, and that is in the eastern part of the country. It is, quite an interesting project, because in a small, area, everything we had to do, like from the like intake dam, then the sedimentation basin and the penstock, and down to the powerhouse and all that we had to undertake.
Right.
And because of that experience, then we got the Pasachu job.
Wonderful.
And it's a 26, in the upper stage is a 26 megawatt. It's called stage 1. It is actually a 60 megawatt.
Okay.
So the second was stage 2. But I must say that in the stage 1, the the type of quality that we gave till now, if you were to ask the people who are in the power sector, they always give that as a very good example.
Wonderful.
Yes. So we had tunneling to do.
Yeah.
It was a tunneling where we couldn't have edits because of the location of the tunnel. So it had to be a one way, going all the way up.
Right.
And we are very happy that when we were undergoing that, even His Majesty the Fourth King, he visited the site.
Great.
Yes, and that time our chairman, Mr. Penjo, he was there at the site. We also had technical, we had to have an advisor, and it was Patel Engineering.
Yeah, I remember that
Yes,
time.
so that's when we cooperated with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And even the Austrian, it was funded by the Austrians. So when the inauguration happened, the foreign minister, it was a lady, she came to the site.
Okay.
And I mean, she came for the inauguration, and she was very surprised that a woman, woman is there in the construction field.
Wonderful.
So then she invited me to give a talk in Vienna.
Okay.
So, women in modernization.
Wonderful.
Yes. So I was invited to Vienna.
Right. Which was this year?
I think that was 2000. We started the Pasachu, so a little after. It was
Around the
yes.
early 2000s.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that means you had already, aroused the interest of European Union.
Yes.
Going to Vienna and talking about it. So that's a great achievement,
Yes, and they wanted to hear about my experiences as a woman.
Yeah.
And I talked to them about how I started doing trucking and all that when I started.
Right. So this journey, you can see in this interview, it will be short, we'll be shortly ending, but we have a lot of stories from her. PHUB ZAM has been an amazing leader to follow. And I think even within my statement would be, we have so many women entrepreneurs in India, but in my own opinion, I would rate her above even that. She is probably in this region, South Asia, probably the best woman entrepreneur I've met. How do you feel about that, madam?
Oh, Professor, you're too kind, and I think sometimes I feel I don't deserve all what you tell me. But nonetheless, thank you so much for thinking that, and coming from an intellectual like you. I think it is very heartening for me and encouraging for me to still continue to be in business.
Right. Another thing I wish to tell you that it's not only business. She's been an amazing family woman. The way she has taken care of her family. This I must mention here, and I must have her to say a few words.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, when multitasking, taking care of your kids, and those kind of issues. It's not easy. Men get around much easily, because they have people to do their job, and generally it's understood that somebody will help, the woman will help him. But in your case, it was like all alone many times.
Yes. Most times I always attribute it to, having a positive mind and always thinking that whatever happens will be for the best.
Right.
So I think that also keeps me going.
For sure.
Yes.
And one little question. You have your mother.
Yes.
And you will probably go to visit her for small blessings for me.
Yes.
Right? How do you think about it? See, you're taking care of children and you have the earlier generation with you. So how do you feel about it?
Yes.
Lucky?
Yes, in our, society, we always take care of our parents.
Right.
And my mother is 96 years old.
Wonderful.
Yes. So I was telling you that you must seek, meet her so that you also get the long life that she is having.
Absolutely. So it's wonderful to have Madam PHUB ZAM here. And for my viewers in India, I can tell you that she will be in the news. She will be doing a lot of things. And if we have an Indo-Bhutan, while we have the government-to-government things going on, I can tell you that we will bring a lot of exciting movement in the private sector side as well. And we have been discussing other things as well, the organic products of Bhutan.
Oh, one thing I forgot, where are we sitting?
Yeah.
We are in my hotel.
Right.
Yes, it's called Yarkay IHCL Selections.
Wonderful.
And it's managed by the Taj Group.
The Tata,
Tata,
Indian Hotels Company Limited, right?
Yes.
IHCL. Yeah, and we are sitting just besides the blessing of the great Ganesha.
Yes.
Right, we are sitting and taking the blessings of Ganesha in an interview.
Yes.
And she's very fond of Lord Ganesha, and I've not seen anybody, while faith is Buddhism, but the love for Ganesha that Madam PHUB ZAM espouses is just amazing. She just took me to that special Ganesha. Can you mention about it?
Yes. So we have, people normally call it Hathi Dunga.
Yeah. And so what is the Hathi Dunga?
Hathi Dunga is elephant stone, no?
Right.
Yes. So that area is just next to where my daughter used to live.
Right.
And she used to go feed the Ganesha with milk, take my grandson when he was 1 year. And he couldn't even pronounce Ganesha. He'll say Ganesha, feed milk. And it's very amazing that we are so connected with Lord Ganesha.
Right.
But even in Buddhism, we do have.
Right.
Yes. How Orchu we call, and Thodalham. So we are connected a lot with Lord Ganesha.
Yeah, because that temple which I visited, it's a stone. It looks, the face looks like Ganesha, and then it's called the Hathi Dunga Ganesha. But the temple's name is Swayambhu Ganesha Temple, right?
Yes, it's given there.
Yeah. So it was a beautiful sight, and it's interesting to see those kind of links between India and Bhutan, spiritual as well. With this, I give one last word. What is the parting shot in this interview?
Before that parting shot, I have to tell you more about Ganesha. When you mention about harmony, that you have taken up this GNHH.
Yeah.
Now this hotel where we are staying in, it's dedicated to the 4 friends, and there, dear friend, the elephant is very much part of it.
Oh, wonderful.
Because it's called the Thumbapinji.
Okay.
And in all of our houses, we always have to have maybe a painting of it or something of the 4 harmonious friends, we call it.
Wonderful.
Yes.
It's basically the Bhutanese system of, looking at the sun signs.
Yes, and having harmony in the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a link. So one last word to you again, because we will finish this interview.
Yes.
It's a short one. We'll have one more in my next round. But what is your last word for everybody, for success, for movement? What's your last word for people?
I always say that one must keep one's mind open, be ready to learn, to absorb, and every person you meet, like even meeting you, Professor, it's a learning experience.
Wonderful.
Meeting, different people, they all teach us something.
Right.
And if you have an open mind, you learn so much from that interaction. And especially, I was saying before that, with people from India, we have this, very fond feelings because you are our immediate neighbor, always been good to Bhutan. We have that, friendly association. So I must tell you that when I went to Austria, for that, when I was invited, so there was a carnival just next to the hotel in
Right.
Vienna. And I saw a Sardaji there.
Oh, great.
And seeing him, I felt so happy because, here, like, when you meet even an Indian outside, you feel like so familiar with them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so nice that you're here, Professor.
Wonderful.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay here in Bhutan.
Sure. I must tell you that whenever I come to Bhutan, I never found it like, I was not feeling like another country. I felt it was my people, it is India, almost like. And this is the country that I just love besides us, besides India. I love Bhutan. And I can tell you that once somebody talked to me that what would you do if you get another birth? So if I believe in another birth, I believe it will be in Bhutan. Thank you all and look forward to meet you in another great interview with AUM PHUB ZAM. Thank you, madam. Thank you for the time that you gave from your busy schedule. It's always difficult, I know. And then I think it's good for our viewers to know what kind of Indo-Bhutan relationships can expand if people to people, business to business, and I would say country to country. This is the kind of integration we do. And we work on the gross national happiness, and we build in India a gross national harmony and happiness. With that note, I end this interview. Bye-bye. To see you next time again in another one. Take care. This is Professor A.G. Iyer signing off with AUM PHUB ZAM in Thimphu, Bhutan.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.